I'm Jeff Holden, head of recruiting at SMB Capital. Today we're here with one of our traders and we're talking about something we saw happen this morning. And we've seen it happen a couple times.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing today? My name is Jonathan, currently a new developing trader here at SMB Capital on the desk. This is going to be actually a broken playbook and flip opportunity trade on NIO from this morning actually.
Just so everybody understands, we have a call every day, 9:30 to 11-ish, or depending on what's going on, maybe later in the day, where we're talking through the ideas that we had prepared for. So we come in with our AM prep. We select the stocks that we think are going to offer the best opportunities. We prepare for what we believe may be setting up, and then we execute our playbook when it shows up. Today we were trading something, and all of a sudden the playbook trade set up, and then it broke. And Jonathan, I really am excited to have you take it from here, because I think what happened next shows why we do this work and how we can turn it into an opportunity next time.
Of course. And yeah, I was going to say one thing that to begin for this trade was the fact that it was mainly going to be an opening drive play with the potential of it being an all-day trender. One thing that I've liked to do over the last couple months is take these opening drive plays just to kind of get the first initial reaction direction, try to build some cash flow, and then work and see the other opportunities from there once price starts to build and kind of tell its story. So I'll go ahead, kind of go on forward into this. It's not as in-depth as the other playbooks since it was from this morning, so it was relatively quick. So I'll just kind of go into it to begin with.
And most importantly isn't to respect the playbook element of it, it's to identify a real opportunity here. So let's run through the catalysts and these are all things that set the stage. This is the work we did before the AM meeting. But really quickly, let's jump through it and then let's get to the trade, because that's really where the opportunity is here.
So the one thing that I ended up doing this morning, just to kind of deem NIO in play today, was actually a couple of things. There were a few catalysts lining up. China actually came out with their CPI and PPI numbers overnight, and they came out higher than anticipated. It was sending kind of all of China, their market down overnight. One of the things from March here too is the fact that the auto sales within China actually fell 10.5% in March. And then NIO actually had to stop their production of vehicles due to COVID restrictions. The Chinese government basically just had to shut them down. So due to this, NIO was expecting delays in their deliveries. And on top of that, just the overall kind of sentiment with the Chinese government, they weren't kind of projected to ease the monetary policy that they would like.
If you want to learn 3 more real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders, and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That will open up the free registration page in a new window, so don't worry, you won't lose this video. You can also visit tradingworkshop.com to register for this free intensive workshop. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
So it actually caused NIO to gap down 10% overall. Actually, FXI was more of consolidating overnight, switching over to the index here. You can see we did gap down, not nearly about 3% or so, and actually started to pull in. On the daily, you can see that FXI and kind of NIO in general, I'll flip to that later on, has actually shown relative kind of continuation when it comes to their gaps. And you can see with FXI recently, we're just kind of ranging towards the bottom of the range. This actually had the news this morning caused us to kind of gap down past the level that I was actually looking at. 32 was the overall level. So we opened up right around 3170, still below the level that I was looking at, and was looking to see maybe once we actually opened up here in the US that we would see downside continuation real quick off the opening drive. So NIO off the open, same thing here. The key level that I was looking at on the daily was actually 1875, kind of an inflection point. And I mapped out on the right left-hand side here, actually, a few levels that I was looking at: 1850, right around 18, and 1786. 1786 was the pre-market low. 1847 was the top of the consolidation after the gap down overnight, and then a few other kind of swing low areas as well. So this was something I was looking to open up ultimately for continuation to the downside. The plan was to risk up to 1850, get size off the open, and then hit momentum through the pre-market lows to see the initial drive down for continuation.
So real quickly, theme, setup, play.
Theme, I'd say monetary issues and a individual catalyst. I would say for the most part, the theme would be just kind of just overall negative aspects relating to performance within the Chinese market and the EV sector as a whole.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say COVID.
Yep, COVID as well.
restrictions.
Yep, I was gonna say.
COVID
Yep.
restrictions could be the theme, you know.
The actual trade here.
Theme, setup, play.
Theme, I would say just negative responses. Probably a COVID restriction along with negative catalysts.
So what's the setup?
The setup to me was going to be a day one, basically a day one play here, looking for a momentum drive down off the opening drive.
Well, I mean, yes, you could argue that, but I think the other side of it is the setup could be gap down into potential support area, gap down below an important support area, backside. Like, it depends on how you want to classify it. But I think the setup is really a news-driven gap down.
Yep.
And this is something where I struggle with identifying these, but this is why each of us has to classify them a little bit, because the theme, negative COVID restriction, there wasn't anything fundamentally that the company was doing wrong, but they were forced into a COVID lockdown, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
The setup, I think, is the most interesting part here, because it's a gap down into kind of a potential support area, but it's kind of below it too. So there's a lot that you don't really, it's gapping down on news. But again, you can hear us talking about this, and it's not like we had something so clear that we're like, this is what it is, and we can identify it, and we know exactly what it is. So, we had an idea of what could happen on the play, what was the play you were trying to make?
For me, I was looking for an opening drive down off the open.
Yep. So, what does that look like?
To me, for the most part, the way that I've been executing these, I want to see kind of a consolidation in the pre-market off the opening drive. I would like to see failure of reaching new highs, and I would like to see kind of these back through open type of trades. They're anticipation trades, basically trying to see if we get failed prices higher, and then start to see momentum kick into the downside, creating new lows past these levels that I'm looking at. For me, at this point, it would have been as we got back down through 18 and seen continuation through the pre-market lows of 1786.
Yeah, so that's great. So if you get that play that you're looking for, the trade that you're looking for, then you would have the theme and the setup supporting it. You would get the trade. What happened, though?
So I'll go into the 1 minute time frame here on the next page. Going up off the open, we actually had a first move up. One thing that I've noticed, or just kind of have felt comfortable with, especially with the price range of where we were trading at, the key level that I was really looking at off the open was 1847 for a stop. So for me, I was okay with taking size off the open right around the 18 level, only risking up to 50 cents in case of the fact that we did have a first move automatically down. I didn't want to miss the opportunity. So I was okay getting some size off the open, just realizing that the stop was only about 50 cents higher compared to where we were. So it was already a relatively small risk on this trade for the potential of an opportunity here to see a lot lower prices. Within the first minute, we did end up spiking up and started to see rejection. And we actually ended up going back through the open price. And then while I was actually watching the tape, there were large orders coming in at the $18 price point to the T.
Large offers or large bids or?
Yep, very large bids. I believe they were on the tape. There were 1,000 size. and we were just hovering around the 18 price. I think we skipped up to like 1805 or so, but really we're just kind of hovering in that 5-point range. And then,
5 cent range.
sorry, the 5 cent range, not 5-point range. What happened was the tape started decrementing, and we started to see all of those orders start to basically start to dry up, and it went down relatively quick. So for me, that was the momentum lot that I wanted to add to begin with, still right around that 18 price level, ultimately only risking up 50 cents. So that was one check that I had in my favor as well, was the failed drive off the first minute, back down through the open price at a key level of 18, and started to see sellers really step up and decrement large orders on the bid.
You had the trade that you wanted.
Yep, I had everything lining up the way that I would like to. It was actually looking like it was going in favor. I had 2 checks at the moment. The last check to really kind of hit into this, which I would have loved to see, was the break of pre-market, basically the pre-market lows, which we did, 1786. That was where I added my actual final lot to this position, still ultimately risking up to 1850. The one thing that actually kind of concerns me on this, though, was as we got down to 1786, looking at the tape, we actually were down to 1776 and sprayed up. We basically skipped 20 cents immediately, back up to the 18 level. From there, buyers were just starting to step up. Sellers were not willing to kind of basically kind of defend 18, and ultimately we just start to see more of a push back up. I did end up clearing some size as we got back above 18, thinking that the sellers should have held that area. So I actually cut down the size to 2/3 right around the 18 level to begin with, thinking that the momentum was starting to dry up.
And so right now you had a theme setup trade that looked like it was happening. This is why we wanted to talk about this one today, because we've seen this a lot lately. We have the theme, we have the setup, we have the trade, and it looks like it's going to work. Then it just doesn't, and it breaks. And you have a trade decision that you can make here. Help me understand the trade decision that you could make here.
So with everything lining up the way that I would have liked to see everything, the ultimate trade decision, which for me, I ended up kind of cutting size, the ultimate decision was actually being able to fully exit the position and flip long on this trade.
Or look for an indication that you might need to flip long. The reality is what should have happened in this trade didn't, right?
Yep.
And so you made an astute observation and you reduced size. But that's not enough because it turned into a really good opportunity. So let's think very quickly, how would we know, okay, now it's time to flip long?
For me, seeing the prices here as we started to get back above 18 and hold 18, started to push the highs of 1830 and really kind of just still, I mean, at this point we were starting to fall back in above 18, still holding above 18, above the open price. I think this was kind of the sign that after creating new lows and not being able to sustain those lows, ultimately rejecting them and starting to see an actual bounce back towards high of day, this was the sign that, to me, there's a good opportunity that we actually could have seen the higher prices, and to ultimately flip my bias on this and start to build a position right around the 18 level, risking the lows of 1770 or so.
Perfect. And that's exactly what, had we done that, we would have put ourselves in a really good position. And that's why we want to do this, is we want to recognize faster when we're wrong. And instead of giving it the full risk and just being wrong, we want to be wrong well. And this isn't exactly being wrong really well. We knew that we were wrong much earlier than before. And you did the right thing with reducing risk, but we can do even better. And we can recognize the opportunity that is presented by having everything line up and then having it fail. That can be this giant threat and a frustrating experience, and we can lament over it, or we can sit here and say, nope, you know what, this is actually a really good opportunity, and I'm gonna study this, I'm gonna relive this experience, I'm gonna be in a trade like this again, where it's going to look like it's gonna work, I'm gonna feel good because I'm getting everything I wanted. It's gonna break on me, and something that should have happened just won't happen. And instead, I'll be responsible with my risk, and I'll take a step and see what the opportunity is. And then look, you didn't just flip and then hold and then try and make a scalp the other way. It's really, there's a lot of information that plays out, and you want to be responsible with your risk on the other side.
Absolutely, and I think that's the thing I took away from this trade this morning was I ended up doing things well in terms of kind of clearing the size that I had, mitigating the risk, and kind of being able to just mitigate the overall risk, basically as the stock went against me. However, failed to kind of be able to just get rid of the bias completely, ultimately just clear as much size, if not the entire position, and ultimately flip long around that 18 level. Because to me, I think that was a clear sense of change of character.
And that's an important thing. You don't want to change your bias unless you have enough information and a real reason to change your bias. And this price action right here gave us enough information and a real reason to flip our bias.
And I would totally agree with that right there.
Yep, and so I'm really happy that we covered this. You know, it wasn't a great experience to trade this and take a big rip in it or a decent rip in it. But, you know, through doing this exercise, we can get better. We can see things that maybe we should have seen live. And hopefully we can recognize them a little faster next time. You know, if we go from losing, you know, what we had planned on in a trade to even break even, that's a huge improvement. If we go from losing what we planned on to a trade to making money in that trade the other way, that's a huge improvement. And that's really what we try and do on our desk every day. And through our development, through the habits that we have, you know, we really try and go from, hey, it's okay to take an appropriate risk on this and be wrong, but is there something we can do better? And how do we challenge ourselves to make sure that we're prepared for that next time?
Absolutely, and I think that's the thing there too is just based off the risk parameters that I had associated with this trade idea today. I actually, due to the change of character and kind of realizing things, I was able to actually cut the risk, or not cut the risk necessarily, but ultimately close out of the position for a less risk than what I was allocating. However, that's where I do agree that the missed opportunity was being able to flip and turn this actually from a losing opportunity to an overall gain.
And it's not going to happen every time, but we want to study the times that it does, and we want to take advantage of them when they really do.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing this today. I love talking about it live. You know, anything else? Yeah, I think we're good on that stuff. Honestly, we covered a lot here already, and I think reading the tape would be interesting, but we don't even need to do it on the tape. Looking at the 1 minute, I see it so clearly. You know, that rejected the lows, and it shouldn't have. It never should have gotten up. It never should have popped higher. And then when it pulled back, it never should have pulled back and held. You know, it's okay if it pops up, but if it should go right back down. And when it doesn't go back down, that's something to be very aware of.
Exactly. And I think one thing we've noticed just with just China as a whole is it hasn't been afraid to continue in the direction of the gap. So I think the fact that we were breaking pre-market lows, ultimately breaking below the levels of the overnight gap and not being able to sustain them was the first sign of character. And then seeing the push back up towards the highs and falling back in, that was where I think the actual opportunity existed in this trade this morning.
Yep, I'd agree with that. Nice job.
Hey, go ahead and click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. And please take the time to add your feedback in the comments section for what videos you'd like for us to produce next and what you found helpful from this video. From all of us at SMB, train and trade well.